Hey guys, welcome to Homework Help for Year 7 Equations, Week 6, page 30. I'm going to go through some of the trickier questions. Now, the first question says, determine by substitution whether the given value of x is a solution to each equation. Okay, so these are simple questions, so I'm just going to go maybe do one or two of them. All you got to do is have a look at the value for x, okay? X is equal to 6. So that means you're going to substitute that into the values of x in this equation. So if x equals 6, that means 2 times 6, because 2x means 2 times x, which means 2 times 6 plus 5. So 2 times 6 is 12. 12 plus 5 is equal to 17. And it says here is equal to 17, so that means x equals 6 is correct. Let's try something a bit more harder. How about this one here, question G. X equals to 11. So just put in x, wherever you see x, you're gonna put 11 there. So that'll be 11 minus 1 divided by 4. Now 11 minus 1 is 10. 10 divided by 4 is equal to 2, and 2 over 4. So that's 2.5. So that's, and over here it says it's equal to 6, so that means this is not correct. X should not equal to 11. And we'll do one more. Over here, question H. So x equals to 13, so we're just going to put it into there. That means that 13 plus 2 divided by 3 equals to 5. Let's see if it's correct. 13 plus 2 is 15. 15 divided by 3 is indeed 5. So therefore this x is equal to 13 is correct. Alright, question 2 says, use a guess and check and improve strategy to solve each equation. So it's just using guess and check like we did in year 5, okay? So let's put in a random number here, guess and check, maybe try 3. So let's say 2 times 3 plus 5. Oh my god, I got it right the first time, so okay. So that means x has to equal to 3. Next one, let's try x equals to, q. Let's pretend q is equal to, I don't know, let's see if it's right. So 3 times 2 minus 4, let's see what that gives us. 3 times 2 is 6, 6 minus 4 is 2, so 2 is not going to work. Let's try 10. Actually 10, no, 10's a bit too much. Let's try, I don't know, 8. So 3 times 8 minus 4, 3 times 8 is 24, 24 minus 4 will give me 20, so that's not going to work. Try 7. So 3 times 7 minus 4, 3 times 7 is 21, 21 minus 4 is 17, which is correct. Therefore, q has to equal to 7 for this equation to work, to make sense. Okay, so that's just the guess and check, and you're just gonna put in random numbers and guess it, okay? So that's the year 5 strategy. Now we're gonna do the backtracking strategy. All right, so what's the backtracking strategy means is you're gonna do things kind of reverse, backwards. So let's look on the left-hand side of the equal sign here. You got the 4g plus 1. So 4g means 4 times g and then plus 1. So according to BODMAS, we have to do the multiply first, right? And then we do so the first thing we do is multiply, so I'm going to put that as the first thing. And then the second thing we do is we're going to add. So we're going to add here and multiply here. So multiply goes first and then add, and you're going to get 25. So the backtracking strategy is we're going to do things backwards. So instead of doing the multiply first, we're going to deal with this adding first. So before we added 1, what did we get? Let me just... 4g plus 1. Okay, so how do I explain this? Backtracking strategy. So the last thing that occurred on the left-hand side was the add 1, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to deal with that plus 1. We're going to take away 1. Oops. Alright, so we're going to take away 1 from 25, and that will give us back the 4g. So we're going backwards. So then you can say 4g, before we added 1, you're going to get 24, because once you add 1, it's going to be 25. Oh, whoops, 24. Okay, so now, and then think, all right, I multiplied a number by 4 to get 24. So before I multiplied that by 4, what was the original number? So we just divided by 4. And you're gonna say G is equal to, what is this? 6, and that's your answer. So you can't go backwards. It's just another way of using the inverse rule, the inverse operation that we used to do in class. Okay, it's just another name for it. So let's look at another one. Let's look at question B. Alright, so the last thing that occurred on this left hand side was the minus 3. So before we minus 3, what should this number be? So something minus 3 will give me 42. So before we minus 3, it should be 45, right? So that means that this should be 45 because 45 minus 3 will give me 42, right? So we're working backwards. We're trying to find out what this is. All right, so, and then you know that 5 times a number, 5 times e is equal to 45. So I'm going to rewrite this down here. So 5 times e is equal to 45. So before we multiply by 5, what was e originally? So we can just divide both sides by 5. And you are going to get e is equal to 9. This is the backtracking strategy. Or just think of it like the inverse operation. So now I'm going to do the inverse operation. It's going to be the same thing. So here you got 3 times c plus 11 equals to 35. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this 11 here. So I'll just minus 11 to both sides. Both sides of what? Both sides of the equal sign. Both sides of this equal sign here. So on the left hand side, you're going to have 3c plus 11, then minus 11. When you plus 11 minus 11, it just cancels out. Now you have 35 minus 11, that equals to 24. So basically 3 times this letter C is equal to 24, so we divide both sides by 3. And you can say C is equal to 8. How did I get C? Well, when you have 3 times a number and then divided by 3, the 3's will cancel out. So when you divide this side by 3, this 3 will cancel out and you just get C. And on the right hand side, you get equals to 8. Okay, so this is the same as the backtracking strategy. Okay, let me see, maybe I can do some harder ones. Hold on. Okay, let's get rid of this. Let's have a look at maybe this one here, E. Okay, so this whole thing is being divided by 7. So let's get rid of this division by multiplying both sides by 7. So what you're going to get left is D plus 6 is equal to 2 times 7 is 14. Okay, this the denominator has been cancelled out when we multiply by 7. When you divide a number by 7 and then you times it by 7, it just cancels out. It just goes back to what originally it was, which is D plus 6 here. So D plus 6 is equal to 14. Now we just need to get rid of this plus 6. Whoops. Alright, so how do you get rid of the plus 6? Just minus 6. Minus 6 to both sides of the equal sign. And this will cancel out. So what you're left with is D is equal to 14 minus 6 will give you 8. And that's the answer. Let's try maybe this one here. Actually, yeah. Question G. So you got U divided by 2 and then you minus the 8. So let's deal with this minus 8 here first. I think it'll be easier this way. Okay, so if you want to get rid of this minus 8, we just have to plus 8, right? Imagine you have U over 2, you minus 8, and it's equal to 3, right? If I plus 8 to this side, I must plus 8 to this side. And when I add 8, minus 8 plus 8 is 0, so that disappears. And you're left with U over 2 is equal to 3 plus 8 will be 11. Okay. Now, so something divided by 2 is equal to 11. So how do we get rid of that 2? We just want the U. Okay, we don't want the bottom 2 there. We want to get rid of it. So to get rid of it, we must multiply it by 2. That's the inverse. When you divide, the inverse will be times, so you have times it by 2. Times this side by 2, and this will cancel out. You get u is equal to 22, and that's your answer. Alright, and you can do the rest of question 3 on your own. I'm gonna rub this out. Okay, next one, we're doing question 4. Solve each of these equations in 2 steps. Okay, so just like what we did before, what we're going to do is look at which one we're going to do first. Now, on the left hand side, you got 2n plus 3. Now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get to the point where we get n is equal to something. That's what that's our mission. We're trying to get to. But at the moment, there's 2 numbers in the way. You got the 2 in front of the n, and you got the 3. We have to get rid of these 2 numbers somehow. Okay. So first, I would like to take away the 3. I want to get rid of this 3. Okay. So imagine if you have 2n plus 3 on this side, and you have 13 on this side. Now to get rid of this plus 3, we just minus 3. Because plus 3 minus 3 will be 0, and that's going to disappear. So that's gone. Whoops. And if you minus 3 to the left hand side, you're going to minus 3 to the right hand side. So that will make it 2n is equal to 10. And then this is a simple division. 2 times something is equal to 10. Obviously the n must be 5. Okay. Or you can just divide both sides by 2. And you get n is equal to 10 divided by 2 is 5. There's your answer. Let's see, what else we got? How about we do the last one here. Okay, so first I'm going to get rid of this minus 2 by plusing the 2. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides of the equation. And you're going to get 10c is going to still be there. Now when you add 2, so minus 2 plus 2 will cancel out, will give you 0. And on this side, you're going to have 58 plus 2 will be 60. Okay, and then, so 10 times c is equal to 60. So how do I get rid of this 10? Well, we just do the inverse operation. The 10 is multiplying by c, so we're going to divide this by 10. Instead of multiplying by 10, we divide by 10. So now we divide both sides by 10. And you're going to get c is equal to 60 divided by 10 is 6. Okay, because when you multiply by 10 divided by 10, it cancels out. And you just get c equals to 6. Alright, question 5. Solve the following equations. Alright, now this one. Alright, so the only difference between question 4 and 5 is it looks like to me, let's look at question 4a. You have 2n at the front, but now you have the 3t, as the next number or next term. So they just move this one over to this side. That's all. So I can just let me see. Now you can solve it like this, is fine, but you have to remember something. So I want to get rid of this 2, just like I normally do. Okay. Now the 2, this is a positive 2, it's not a negative 2, so it's a positive 2. I'm going to put a little plus there. Now to get rid of this positive 2, I must do a minus 2. I'll take away 2 to both sides. So a positive 2 take away 2 is going to give you 0. And you're going to get left with a positive 3t equals to 15 minus 2 is, 17 minus 2 is 15. So therefore, we have 3t equals to 15. So we just have to divide both sides by 3. And you're going to get t is equal to 5. There you go. Not too tricky, I hope. Let me rub this out. C is equal to 6. Alright, let's try this one, question E. So again, you have a positive 57 plus a 7c equals to 1. So I can just minus the 57 and then you're gonna have minus 57 on this side as well. So a positive 57 and a minus 57 will cancel each other out, will be a 0. So all you're left with is 7c equals to, what's 1 minus 57? The answer should be minus 56. So now we're going to divide each side by 7, because at the moment 7 is multiplied to c, and I want to get rid of that 7. So I do the reverse operation, is if you multiply the c by 7, you have to divide it by 7 to get rid of it. Okay, so divide both sides by 7, and you're going to get left with c on the left hand side. On the right hand side you get minus 56 divided by 7, so that will give me minus 8, and that's the answer. Another way you can do it is, if you don't like the way they arranged it, you can just move it back. Okay, so let's look at question F. It's going to be the same thing. So I'm going to take this and just move it back over here. I can just say, oh, this is the same as 8d plus 26 equals to 10. And maybe this way you can see, it's easier to see what we're going to do first. You got a plus 26. Okay, so let's minus 26. Minus 26 to both sides, and you're going to get 8d. Okay, so these two minus each other is going to cancel out. So there's nothing to write down there. 8d is still 8d, and then 10 minus 26 will be minus 16. And now we just divide both sides by 8 to get rid of 8. And the answer is going to be d is equal to, so what's negative 16 divided by positive 8? A negative divided by positive will be a negative. 16 divided by 8 is 2. And the answer is d equals to 2. Oh, sorry, negative 2. And that's the answer. Okay, the rest you should be able to do by yourself. Maybe I'll do one, actually I'll do question 6 here. Solve, okay. Now, sometimes you have questions where it's like, imagine you have a question, it says m plus 4 divided by 5, okay, equals to 7. Now in this case, this whole thing is being divided by 5. So the best thing I would do is multiply both sides by 5, and that cancels this whole thing out. This will be 35, and this will be m plus 4. Okay, but in this case, this is different. Now, the one that's being divided by 5 is just the m, whereas in the top example, the whole m plus 4, that whole thing is being divided by 5. So we deal with this question 6a differently than if the question had been like this. Okay, so instead of multiplying by 5, I would like to get rid of this plus 4 first, because this plus 4 is not being divided by 5, it's just on its own. So we can easily remove it just by taking away 4. Take away 4 to both sides. So what you're gonna have left is m divided by 5 is equal to, what's 7 minus 4? That will be 3. Okay, so again we're going to do the reverse operation. M is being divided by 5, so let's multiply by 5 to both sides, and you're going to get m is equal to 15, and that will be the answer. Alright, let's moving on. I think maybe I'll do one more. Okay, let's try this one. Question B, a over 3 minus 2. So you can see here that the minus 2 is just sitting on its own. It's not being divided by 3 at all. So we're going to get rid of this minus 2 by plus 2. Just adding 2 to it. So what's happening is like this. You got a divided by 3 minus 2, okay, equals to 5. That was our original equation. Okay, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna add 2. So I'm gonna add 2 to this side and add 2 to this side. Because I've added 2 to both of the equal sign, that means that the value should still be equal. Okay. So what's gonna happen here is, because you've minus 2 and add 2, this becomes 0, so that disappears, and you're gonna have a over 3, a divided by 3. Equals, what's 5 plus 2? That will be 7. Okay, now, so a divided by, so something divided by 3 is 7. So let's multiply by 3. Do the reverse of divide, multiply. So when you multiply by 3, this will cancel out, and then you get a, and on the right hand side you get 3 times 7, that's 21, and that's the answer. A equals 21. See, this is how you solve for the equation. You want to isolate the pronumeral. This is the pronumeral. The pronumeral means the letter. You want to isolate it, so make it by itself. You want to make it so that it's the pronumerals on one side and you have equal to a number on the other side. That's how you do it. Alright, you should be able to do the rest of that page. I'm going to go to the next page. Okay. So set 4, question 7. This is page 31. Okay. Now let's have a look. Solve for these ones. So again, these are the same questions. Now let's look for something that's a bit tricky. How about we look at this one here, question F. Alright, so first, like usual, I'm going to rewrite this. Okay, you got d minus d over 3 plus, oh, so that's a 5, sorry. That's a 5 plus with 3 equals, I put the equal sign over here, equal 12. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to minus 3 to both sides. Minus 3 here and minus 3 here. When you minus 3, a plus 3 minus 3 is 0, so that cancels out. And you're going to have left is minus d over 5 is equal to 9. Alright, now this minus sign is a bit confusing, right? It can be a bit confusing. So the thing with the minus sign is that this is a minus number. So, and because it's a fraction, I can move this minus to the top or to the bottom. So I could say, oops. So I could say it's minus d divided by 5. Or I could say it's minus d over 5. Or I could say it's d over minus 5. They're all the same thing. Because the number is still a negative number. When you have a negative divided by a positive, it's still going to be a negative, right? When you have a negative in front of a number that's been divided, it's still negative. Okay, or you could have a positive divided by negative, it's still a negative number, and it's still, so they're all the same thing. That's the reason why I can move the minus sign up or down, or leave it in the outside here, like this one. Okay, so let's rub that out. So understanding that, I would like to move the minus down to the bottom here. So this is, I can rewrite this as d over minus 5. It'd be the same thing. It's equal to 9. So what's happening to d? I want d by itself. D is being divided by negative 5. So to reverse that, we just multiply by negative 5. So instead of dividing by negative 5, we multiply by negative 5. So we do the same thing on the other side. And you're going to get d by itself is going to equal to 9 times minus 5 is minus 45. And that's the answer for that one. What about question G? Again, you see that minus there? I'm going to put it down to the bottom here. So we can say that's the same as saying w over minus 9. And then minus 10 there. Equals to negative 4. So first thing I like to do is get rid of that minus 10. So I'm going to add 10. Add 10 to this side as well. So what you're going to get is you're going to get minus w over 9. Oops, sorry. It's w over minus 9. Excuse me. Is equal to, now this part is gone. Minus 10 plus 10 is gone. Okay, cancels out. Minus 4 plus 10 is 6. Is positive 6. Okay, now I want to get to w equals something. Now w is being divided by minus 9. So we need to do the reverse of divided by minus 9. So we times it by minus 9. Times this one by minus 9 as well. And what does that give us? So when you times it by minus 9, that cancels out. And you're left with this w on the left hand side of the equation, and on the right hand side you got 6 times minus 9, and that will give us minus 54, and that is the answer. All right, let's move that. Whoops. Move that over here. All right, let's have a look at question 8. Solve these equations. All right, so now what I want to do is emphasize the difference between these two types. The question 7 and 8, the big difference between these two. So let's just rub this out, just to give me some room. Okay, so let's have a look at question, let's look at question 7D and this one here, 8A. Okay, like I said before, I'll say it again, just so you know, just to highlight this once again. In the first one, M is being, so for question D here, M is being divided by 3 and then it adds 1. Okay, that's a step. So M has to be divided by 3 first, because in BODMAS you have to do division first, and then you add the 1. Whereas in this one, because A plus 2 is in the numerator, that one is done first and then it is divided by 3. It's almost like I can put this in brackets. I can say A plus 2 in brackets divided by 3. So again, in BODMAS, this must be done first and this must be done last. Since the divided by 3 is done last, when we do the inverse, we start with the we try and get rid of 3 first. Whereas in the question D, we try and get rid of 1 first. Okay, so let's have a whoops. So let's have a look at this one here. So unlike the question D, where the first thing I want to do is get rid of that positive 1 plus 1. Over here, I'm not going to try and get rid of this plus 2. That will be done later. That'll be done second. So the first thing I want to do is get rid of this plus divided by 3. So to get rid of the divided by 3, I must times 3. So time this side by 3, and you're going to get A plus 2 is equal to 3 times 4 will give me 12. When I times it by 3 in the left hand side, that cancels out this one as well. So you have A plus 2. Okay, so now we have A. We're going to minus 2 to both sides. Minus 2, minus 2. So A is equal to 10. Done. Alright, question. Let's have a look at question C. So again, I am not going to add 5. You can't add 5 to both sides, okay? Because this 5 is part of the numerator. It's like a one piece there. This, whoops. So what you want to do is you want to get rid of this 4 first. So how do we get rid of 4? This whole thing is being divided by 4. Okay, it's been divided. So the reverse of it is we must times it by 4. We must times it by 4 to get rid of this 4 as the numerator. So let's times this by 4. Times this side by 4. And you're going to get t minus 5. The 4 at the bottom, the 4 top cancels out. You get 4 times 7 is 28. And this one is simple. So on the left hand side you have t minus 5 to get rid of minus 5, which is plus 5. And on the right hand side plus 5 as well. So you're going to get t is equal to 28 plus 5 will be 33, and that's the answer. I'll do maybe last one here. Z plus 18 divided by 4. So again, we cannot start with the 18. We have to start with the divided by 4. This one is in the way. Okay. So we have to say we have to times everything by 4 first, because this whole thing is being divided by 4. It's not just the Z. Okay. There's 2 types of questions like this. This one, or you could have something like this. You could have Z over 4 plus 18 equals to 3. Now, in this situation, I would take away 18 first from both sides. But for our question, I need to times it by 4 first. because this whole thing is a numerator. It's the Z is being divided by 4 and 18 is also being divided by 4. They're all part of it, okay? There's a difference there. So we multiply both sides by 4, we're gonna get, this will cancel out, and you're gonna get Z plus 18 is equal to 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to get rid of this 18 here. So I'm gonna minus 18 to both sides. So you got Z is equal to 12 minus 18 should give me minus 6, and that's the answer there. Alright, now let's have a look at question 9. It says solve each equation for A. Okay. So let's have a look at question 9A. Now, if I want to solve for A, remember my mission is to get A equals to something, okay? So what's happening here? A is being multiplied by 2 and divided by 3. So how about we get rid of this 3 at the bottom first? So multiply it by 3 to both sides. That will cancel this out. So you're going to get 2A is equal to 3 times 4 is 12. And then what we do next is we divide it both by 2. Both sides we divided by 2. So 2A divided by 2, this can cancel out. Okay, and you have A is equal to 12 divided by 2, 6. And there's your answer for 9A. Let's go and have a look at maybe question H. Okay, so first thing I would do for this question is multiply both sides by 7. Okay, when I multiply both sides by 7, I'm going to get rid of this denominator 7 there. Get rid of that. So all we have left is 6A from the top, and that's equal to 7 times 12, which will become 84. Okay, now I want to get rid of this 6 because I want A by itself, right? I want to isolate the A. So in order to get this 6 is multiplied with the A, so we need to divide it by 6. If you multiply, then you divide. And you divide that one by 6. Okay, so on the left hand side you get A. What's 84 divided by 6? You get 1, 6, 24. That'll be so 14. So A is equal to 14. There you go. I will try maybe question K and L. We'll try these two. Question K. Okay, how do we do with this one? Again, this minus sign can be a bit confusing, okay? So you can bring it to the top or you can bring it to the bottom. I like to bring this to the bottom and get rid of it all at once. So I'm going to rewrite this question like this. I'm going to say 9A over minus 4 is equal to 18. Alright, so let's get rid of this minus 4 at the bottom. Let's multiply by minus 4 to both sides of the equation. When we do that, we're going to cancel out this one and this one. So all you're left with is 9A is equal to, now what's 4 times 18? Let me see what that is, 32, 72. Okay, so 4 times 18 is 72. Now, this is a positive multiplied with a negative, so that will give me a negative, so it'll be negative 72. So 18 times minus 4 is minus 72. Now, we want to get rid of this 9 here. We just want A by itself. So I'm going to divide both sides by 9. Divide it. And so divide that by 9 as well. So what I'm going to get left with is A is equal to, actually write down here. A is equal to 70 minus 72. So 72 divided by 9 is 8. But you have a minus divided by a plus, so it'll give me a minus. So the answer is A is equal to minus 8. Now let's look at question L. Okay, again I'm going to rewrite this question here and write this is 4A divided by minus 5 equal to minus 20. If you don't understand why I could do this, just go back maybe to a couple minutes and I explained it in the previous question. Alright, so 4a divided by minus 5. I can get rid of this minus 5 easily, just by multiplying both sides by minus 5. Okay, so what happens when you multiply both sides by minus 5? Well, on the left hand side, this will cancel out, and you're left with 4a. And on the right hand side, 5 times 20 is 100. A minus times a minus is a positive, so it'll be positive 100. Okay. Now, the only thing left to do is divide it, both sides by 4. When you divide both sides by 4, this 4 will cancel out with that one, so you're left with is a equal to 100 divided by 4 will give me 25, and there's my answer. Okay, so that will be the end of that. It shouldn't be too hard. If you have any questions, you can just message me and I'll try and answer you. I might do one more. I'll try to do this one. Have a look at this one here. Okay, so you got v minus 8 divided v divided by 8 minus 6. So the first thing I would like to do is get rid of this minus 6. This minus 6 is just sitting by itself. It's just easy to remove it. Okay, I don't want to deal with the 8 yet. Whoops. So I'm gonna have, so imagine if I rewrite this question here like this: v divided by 8 minus 6 equals to minus 9. So the first thing I'll do is I'm gonna add 6 to both sides. When I add 6, you got minus 6 plus 6 equal to 0. So that's 0, it just disappears. Okay. And here you get, say, all you're left with is v over 8. And over here you get minus 9 plus 6 would be minus 3. And now I need to get rid of this 8. I want v by itself. So how do you get rid of this 8? We're going to times it by 8 to both sides. And when we do that, this 8 and this 8 will cancel out. So you're left with is v, which is what we want. Minus 3 times by 8 will give me minus 24. And that is the answer there. Alright, I'll give you some of the answers. Maybe half of them. So the rest you should be able to do by yourself. Let's have a look at the other page. Yep, it's all there. Okay, hope that helps.